Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Metal Shop. And before we get to the NGD, the New Guitar Day and unboxing, if you'd indulge me a little story time here with the Metal Cop, I want to tell you about how and why that this guitar that's coming into the Metal Shop today, this unboxing, means so much to me. It's so important to me, and why I'm so excited about it. So if we go back to the early 2000s, I can't remember, like 02, 03, Journey was doing the television circuit with a live in concert series, and it was on a few different channels. I think DirecTV was really pushing it. It was a great concert. And it was, just for reference, it was back in the days when Steve Augeri was the singer in the band. And again, if you'll permit me with a little editorial comment, I think Steve Augeri was a much better singer, much better replacement for Steve Perry than Arnel Pineda ever could hope to be. But that's neither here nor there. That's my opinion. Anyway, Neil Schon was playing Les Pauls with Floyd Roses on them. It appeared that they'd been modified, or I wasn't sure if they were modified or they were purpose built for Gibsons, but he was playing PRS with Floyd Rose and then the Les Pauls with Floyd Rose, and they looked a little different. And I wanted one. The plain and simple, the short and the long and the short of it is I wanted one. I've wanted one since way back, and I can't remember. There's actually a great article, and I'll link it in the description, as to who was the first person to modify a Les Paul with a Floyd Rose. And Neil Schon, with his 1977 Deluxe, obviously he modified it much later, probably in 81 or 82, is definitely one of the first. But Brad Gillis is also claiming that he did it before Neil. He has a 71 Les Paul Custom that he modified with a Floyd Rose around the same time period. So I don't know who modified theirs first. I'll include a couple of pics of each of them, each of their modified guitars that are super duper cool. Brad's, there almost no photos exist. There's a lot more photos of Neil, which just attests to Journey's popularity versus Night Ranger's popularity, at least in the very early 80s. We'll fast forward a few more years, and Gibson did come out with a line of guitars called the Lite, the Lite series. The majority of them were tunamatics, but, and this was about 88, 89, several of them did have Floyd Roses. They were made by Schaller. They were branded Gibson. Most of them were that pink salmon color. Some white. I've seen a tobacco, like a sunburst. But I'm betting the number, I believe, is around 200 of them actually came with Floyd Roses. So, and I've never seen one of those LITE Gibson Light, custom light or studio light guitars in person. I'll insert, a bunch of pics throughout here. Those guitars never did it for me. They were thinner, and they didn't have any binding on the back, and they were light. That's how they achieved the lightness. It wasn't weight relieved. They were LITE light, and to me that wasn't really a great Les Paul. It had a Schaller Floyd, not a real Floyd. They were recessed. Didn't really do it for me. Oh, by the way, so like I said, I mentioned that Neil also was playing Floyded PRS. Well, I did one of those too, but that's a story for another day. Anyway, so where was I? I wanted one. I wanted one. I had to have one. Um, Obviously, Neil's were out of completely out of reach. They weren't even actually at the time that concert had aired and was doing the circuit, and and Gibson started making the custom guitars for Neil, they weren't even available to the public. But I wanted one, had to have one. So I sought out this guitar, found it on eBay. Um, it was expensive, even for in the early 2000s. I want to say it was about $2,800, which was very expensive for that day. This is a 1970 Les Paul Custom. I sent it out and had a fantastic luthier, a guy by the name of Tucker Barrett, local to me, route this thing for a Floyd, and he did a fantastic job. And I'll stick in a couple of pics of the routes that he did for me there. Clean, clean, clean. Much better than any aftermarket modification Floyd Les Paul that I've ever seen. And there's been a handful now. Most of them are butch job hackers. This one is really, really nice. I wired this up myself. It has a DiMarzio kind of a dual rail pickup in the neck, and it has the Sustainiac there. And there's push pulls to operate the sustainer, whether fundamental or harmonic. I don't have a battery compartment in this one. All the electronics fit in here in the stock cavity. You'll see how nicely that was routed. That's flush. And I could put a cover on there without the string access. I just like the way that one looks. That's an old school, the thick plastic kind that the Charvel used back in the early 80s. And I just like it. Look at that. Look at the wear. This thing has honest playing wear on it. And it was totally yellowed out by lots of smoking in bars and so on and so forth. Dig that thing. So anyway, now you've got the backstory. This is what inspired me to build this guitar and why today's unboxing means so much to me. And a little addendum there to my story is that Gibson did end up producing those guitars and selling them. I think the street price was $8,999. They had the split parallelogram inlays. They had a slightly different inlay on the headstock, custom to Neil. They came with Sustainiac, or the Fernandez sustainers on them. They had a battery compartment. They had switches here on the bottom. They did not have the awesome ergonomic layout of the controls, which I wish they did. But they only made, I think the number is like 20 of those. And there was some gold tops, some white, some black. Maybe there was one gunmetal gray. Neil got one red one. 20, maybe 25 max of those. Street price when they sold them, $9,000, which dealers were quickly asking $10,900, $11,900 and getting them, and they all disappeared very quickly. Gibson didn't end up producing those in large numbers because they told Neil they're too expensive. They won't sell. So essentially what they did was they took his idea and they turned it into the Axis. Oh yeah, Neil Schon also had the sculpted heel on his, not the big heel, the traditional big heel Les Paul. And it should mention that the Light series, the Gibson Light series, all had a traditional heel on them like this one. Anyway, they told Neil, too expensive, we're not going to make them. Neil ends up parting ways with Gibson on bad blood. I'm thankful to say he's back in the fold now. They're making him a bunch of Supremes with FLOYD Roses on them. Jim DeCole and his team are making Neil some guitars, so hopefully he comes back into the fold completely. They make a signature model that's quote-unquote affordable, probably $5,000 or $6,000, to the rest of us. But anyway, those 25 guitars all disappeared very quickly. In fact, Neil Schon's longtime girlfriend, if you follow him on social media, even has bought up a couple of them from collectors and given them back to Neil because there are so few of them. So anyway, thanks. I've only talked for 8.5 minutes. It's going to be 9 before we're done, before we get to that unboxing. So anyway, that's the backstory, why I love the Les Paul with a Floyd Rose, why I had to build one, and why the guitar today I am so excited about. So let's get to that unboxing. All right, without further ado, let's get to opening this thing. He did write what guitar it is on the front of the package, and all my information's on there, so I flipped it over to the back side. So yeah, not a big fan of writing on the outside of a box what's inside of it, but got my trusty Cutco knife. Let's get to the unboxing. Well packed. Japanese newspapers are ever going to win. Right. The latch is broken. Here's one on the back side. I see more bubble wrap. Nice. Did send me some pics. George Lynch, Paul Gilbert, and Van Omston pics, and I did request that. More newspaper. This is one of the best packing jobs that I have ever seen. Oh my god. So yeah, pull scissors out and just cut through all that packing tape. And there she is, my friends. Wow. Wow. I mean, I am impressed. Tape stuck to the neck. Feeling for a crack back there. Not feeling any. Some bubble wrap under. This is amazing to me. These were available in the late 80s in Japan, but the US couldn't come up with anything to match this. Did slack the strings. Whether you approve of that or not, I don't know. But yeah, just at first glance, everything looks to be in perfect ship-shape condition. I believe this is from 1989. Wrote myself a little cheat sheet here, did the research on the Burny Fernandez models, and this is the Yasuyuki Saito signature model. He played from the Japanese band Reaction. So he went by Yasu. They all had like four-letter nicknames. So Y-A-S-U, Yasu Saito, S-A-I-T-O. This is the LC-100YS for Yasu Saito. And the 100 means 100,000 yen, which back in the day was actually pretty inexpensive, depending on how you look at it. In the 80s, this was just under $700 if you do the time value of yen and the dollar. But wow, just wow. All right, so as I was saying, it's so amazing to me that the Japanese market with Burny, they were making these in, I think they were available 88, 89, and 90 according to the Burny catalogs, which are all available online, which is fantastic. And I'll insert a bunch of pictures of Yasu Saito. There's plenty of pictures of him in the Burny catalogs and pictures that are kind of blurry and grainy because I actually had to take them. They're true screenshots. I used my phone and took pictures of my computer screen at my place of employment to take the pictures because they won't load on the mobile platform onto your phone for screenshots. Fernandez was huge back in these days. They had Night Ranger in the early '80s. They had Adrian Vandenberg. Um, I can't remember who else they had. They had the guitar player that replaced Vivian Campbell with Dio. His name is escaping me. Craig Goldie. They had Craig Goldie as an endorser. Kirk Hammett played Fernandez, although he wasn't really an endorser, but the guitar that would later become the Edna Caster was a Fernandez Strat that he played. But I mean, to me, having a factory built non recessed Floyd Rose, even a head crasher, which is cool, where the strings go through the posts there in the back, it strings through. You don't have to cut the ball ends off. Very, very, very cool. So, anyways, let's steal steal Trogley's catchphrase. Let's get this up on the workbench and take an individual look at its parts and specs. All right, so we're up here on the workbench. Get the sky cam going. Full disclosure, I did replace the strap pins already because I wanted to. I made some hardwood shards with a razor blade, and I tucked them in there with the wood glue trick because when I'm working on a guitar, I don't know about you guys, but I like to take the hold of the strap pin and flip it like so. And with the ones that were on there originally, they were just spinning, and I tried to tighten them up, and there was nothing left. There was nothing left in the wood. When I took them out, some fine sawdust came out. So those things had given up the ghost. So I did get a new tool here. Let's flip this over. So what I want to do, just real quick, is I want to check inside each cavity. I'm very curious how the factory mounted the Floyd. As you can see there, we've got, it's a top mount, but there's a good amount of space there. So this is similar to my 1970 Les Paul that we modified. Very similar setup like that. And the problem being with a thick body like this, the cavity needs to be deep or stepped so that the springs can reach the Floyd itself. So it'll be interesting to see how they did it with a factory install there. I did get this new tool, this gyroscopic screwdriver. made by DeWalt, and I can't take credit. Well, I can. I mean, I bought this, but I saw Zach Broyles from Mythos Pedals using one of these, and it was really cool. So you push the button, it's not even moving at all. As you spin it, it goes faster and slower. And reversed, you just got to spin it the other way. It's pretty cool. It's really just for driving screws. So let's start here. Yeah, that thing works the trick. That's pretty nice. Try and keep track of all these old gold screws we got here. Ever since I'm a kid, I always use hand tools for absolutely everything. It's like, because it's all I had, you know. I work on my cars, I still use ratchets. Because when you're a kid, that's all you got, and I still like the feel of tightening and loosening a bolt by hand. All right, this is a top-mounted plate, which is kind of nice. All right, so, all right. That is a very deep cavity. So I can see how they accomplished it, but I'm kind of curious because that, in theory, should be running into the space for the pickup. So I'm betting we're going to have, that cavity is 1.5 inches deep. 40 millimeters, a little over 40 millimeters deep. That's deep. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll flip over to the other side and see how the pickup cavities have to be very, very shallow. They have to be. Sometimes the only way you can tell if you have a gold screw, they get so worn on top, the finish gets so worn off them is when you take them out, you can still see the gold in the threads. Doesn't do anybody any good. Yeah, that's nice. That tool is nice. All right, break out the suction pig. Pull that right off. Let's see. Looks like, yeah, it's a nice looking switch. It looks like it needs to be adjusted. It looks like there's some strain. Tough to see. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it looks like there's some strain on the wire there. And I did notice that it's reversed, you know, kind of like the Eddie Van Halen style, where this is the bridge and that is your neck pickup, and I don't like it like that. That has to, I think it might have just gotten spun, judging from some of the strain on the wires there. All right. And, oh yeah, I'm double checking here as I take all these plates off. The screws are all the same size. Make sure you check that. Otherwise, you're going to want to keep them separated. You got to keep them separated. And might as well suction pig that one too. Okay, nice. So let's see what we've got in here. Right off the bat, we got full-sized pots, which is nice, and it's expected for a 1989 or so, vintage guitar. Some nice clean wiring. Looks factory. Looks like it's untouched. There. Pretty clean, and it looks like it's kind of weird. The volume, the upper volume for the, I guess that's the bridge. No, that's the neck. I always swap it. Anyway, there's some extra routing in there, and I assume that's because of the arch top. My Les Pauls, I like this to be the bridge, volume and tone, this to be the neck, and I feel like you can just get to it quicker there, so I always swap those. So let's see, I want to look at those pots real quick. Tough to see. I'm going to get the magnifying glass out here. You won't be able to see it. And it says 500K on it. 500K, some other, this one says 88, probably 1988, but this one says 80, and I doubt that it's a 1980. And this one, it's obscured 80. That one says 80. Kind of weird. And this one I'm definitely not going to be able to see. Yeah, that the blob of solder is right over what it shows. So 88, 80, 80, and they all say 500K on them. Kind of neat. So yeah, I gotta see what I got myself into here to switch everything around. You generally, all you have to do is switch the hot from the pickup. Switchy, switchy, switchy there. So, oh yeah, we can use the new gyroscopic thing here. I've got the string winder as well. And we're gonna pop the Floyd off and have a look at the pickups. So let's use that. Let's see how that works. So let's see. Now the clamps are loose. You remember the guy? Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Yep. The guy slacked the strings in shipping. Kind of got the strings got some kind of weird tie job on them. Alright, so we like to do that. You slack the strings 2 at a time, and then we just lock the clamp in place. Nothing to it. Oop. Guys can't see it off camera. I'm sucking in paper and rubber bands into this thing. Kind of weird. It's like there's some junk stuck in the strings too, like some lint or something. It's easy to remember whether you're tightening or loosening because you just turn the tool the way you want it. The way you want the tuning machine to spin. Those clamped off. Get the last 2. Oh, let's slide something under there. There is a little chip in the paint under there already. I assume from some pretty, someone got a little too rambunctious there with the Floyd. Tell you, that's pretty nice. Do away with all that handwork. All right. It's nice to have a clamp for stuff just like this. Although, so normally I would take the strings off here. I would just loosen up the blocks, but this being the head crasher, the strings go through. Which is kind of nice. I'm kind of a firm believer in the best sounding guitars that I've ever owned, and I don't even know if I own any right now, the strings go through the body, like a Telecaster or like an old Rhodes. You know, when the strings go through like that, the tone is really just, it's where it's at. It's kind of unbeatable. Oop, that one's cooperative. Got our springs off. And the Floyd, is it gonna... Sometimes they'll fall right out. So yeah, this one's gonna fall right out. Okay, good. I've got a... if this matches a Floyd Rose, the pattern on a Floyd Rose, and it should, because Fernandez made... They were the original producers, the original factory that made Floyd Rose when Floyd the Man stopped making them. He subbed out production to Fernandez in Japan, and those very, very first few in the very early 80s that on Van Halen guitars and so on were made by Fernandez. You know, Brad Gillis's original one, so on. Maybe not Brad Gillis's original, but on his later guitars. So yeah, the timeline, I've been reading up on that too. Anyway, I'm going to put a big brass block on there if it fits, and it should. Oh, look at that. That's so weird. So we got 6 holes there for strings. They do not go through. This block must be used on more than one trim assembly. That's why. But anyway, since Fernandez made the Floyd Rose, they were the original factory that built them. It should match up. The screw holes should match up so that I can do that. All right. Let's switch back to screwdriver. I'm not sure. This is a very small screwdriver. This is probably, these should be, and I believe these to be original, VH1 pickups, Fernandez VH1 pickups. Now they were made by Goto, and Goto made practically everything hardware related on this guitar, but Goto made the VH1 pickups, and if you guys remember, they used to have a little sticker on some of them that said VH1. I don't know if this ever did, or obviously it could be removed, so be very interesting to see. All right, so that one doesn't want to. Let's see, these are, they look like they're kind of, okay, that one is coming out. Long screw there. Are they the same size front to back? Let's see, this one here, maybe with a little upwards pressure. Well, yeah. That one might require a little bit of work. Maybe we can look at the neck pickup. Let's see. Same size screws holding in the neck pickup, even though it's half the height. Let us see. Not a lot of extra wire there. No markings on it whatsoever that I can see. Doesn't even say N for neck or B for bridge. But I have no reason to believe these aren't original VH1 pickups made by Goto. And let's see, we've got, don't really, it's weird. There's no neck tenon going down in here, but that's so strange. The neck is this, it's like all tenon from here. So they did it, it's definitely done a little differently. This is lacquer too, by the way, folks, which is really nice. It's just got that, if you know, you know, it's got that feel to it. Got to be careful. These old screws, it's the last thing that you want to do is bung up the heads on them with a power tool. That's another, you know, proponent reason to use hand tools. You're not going to skip like that. I'll just put a couple in there on the hand tools, and I just don't know. Maybe I'll take my own advice here. Switch to, yeah, that head. The head is just trashed on that one. I'm not sure what we're gonna do there. That's gonna require some more work, and I'm gonna assume that the pickup in here is gonna look exactly the same and have no markings on it, and I'll work on that later. So we do have some upgrades planned for this. Of course, this is the metal shop. This is what we do, and I am going to. This is supposed to be, just by the way, this is supposed to be a rosewood board. It's dark. If it is indeed rosewood, it is dark, and they probably stain it or condition it. But if I told you it was ebony, you wouldn't know. If they told me it was ebony, I wouldn't know any different. There's binding over the fret ends. I did strum through this a couple of times, just very briefly, and it feels like a Les Paul. It sounds like a Les Paul unplugged, and it just has the sound and the feel of a Les Paul. I don't know what more to say about it. This tip, I thought in the pictures, I thought this was like a brown plastic. Nope, that's gold. It's just nicely aged. Anyway, so what am I going to do? I do have, like I said, I'm going to do the Randy Rhoads treatment to this. We have gold speed knobs going here. We have the the pointers, I like to call them pointers. Guys call them thumb bleeders. I've never caught my thumb on them. I've never, to me, that's just, it's dumb. Sorry, that's just dumb. They're pointers. The whole Randy Rose treatment, the gold speed knobs, the gold pointers will be on there. I have a gold, gold input jack plate, a metal plate there, because this one is plastic, and I don't care for plastic input jacks. Let's just leave this and not move it again. Let's see. Oh, I have, come on, really bugging me here. I have a pick guard. The pick guard that was on here, I have it being engraved, Randy Rhodes, and I have some really nice brass back plates that I picked up. The guy sells them on, they're on eBay, they're on Reverb, but this is this is nice. It's thick, it's heavy, countersunk screws. It's just nice. And this I checked already, as I was very concerned, this being an Asian produced guitar, that this was going to match, but it's standard Fender. Fernandez used standard Fender. This one's standard Fender, and they line up perfectly. That's just got the covering on it, but yeah, I have a nice nice brass back plate there, and of course the brass cover for the three-way. And oh yeah, and I have the brass poker chip for it as well. And I bought a nice new old stock Schaller, but it looked a little too nice, and I actually found a beat up old one in my parts drawer that I think is going to work better. And it's been, I've had this thing for, I'm not even kidding, probably about 20 years. And why it pays to never throw things away. Look at that. That is going to look nice on there. That'll look like it's a factory original part on there. So anyway, I think it's a good time to end. I'll take you with me when I do the upgrades. Put some elixirs on here. We'll get this switched, get this thing spun back around properly. Fretboard cleaned up, and yeah, it's nice, very, very nice guitar. And considering it's a third of the price of a similar Les Paul, right now, if you guys want a cream-colored Les Paul, you got to get one that's a few years old, so it's cream and not white, and so it yellowed out. But they're charging a premium for them. Randy Rhodes connection, I'm not sure what it is, but maybe it's harder to paint white, it's more expensive, I'm not sure. Anyway, let's end there. So as always, my friends, truly appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit me up in the comments. Still respond to all my comments. Please give me the thumbs up. Really helps the channel out. Really helps my video. Doesn't cost a thing. Give me that thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. Always got a lot more stuff coming. Putting out one video a week. Share the video. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. I get tons of views, and I'm sure that I'm, like everyone else, only 40 or 50% of my viewers are actually subscribers. So please like, subscribe, share, hit me up in those comments. And again, I always reiterate, thank you. I truly appreciate your support, my friends. Thank you so much for the view and watching my video. And let's rock on here with the Fernandez Les Paul with a Floyd 1989. So sweet.